Hey, Benjamin Soma here. I wanted to show you an alternative way of setting up the chord player that will allow you to turn it on with just one button. Well, normally when we set up the chord player, we have to change the scale to sequential, chromatic, with a root of C. But if you're usually playing in something else, that might kill your flow. So you can always hit that scale by pressing the user mode button. We just need to change a couple settings in Ableton to get this to work. So here in Preferences, under the Link MIDI tab, we need to make sure that our tracking and remote is turned on for push to port 2 on the input as well as the output. The port 2 refers to our user mode. And then in the colorizer track, we need to make sure that the output is going to our push to port 2, not the push to output, the normal one. So that way it turns on the lights on the user mode. And then on the chord player track, the input is coming from push to port 2. And then on the colorizer clip, we need to change the launch mode to toggle so that you can turn it on and off with the same button press. And I have quantization set to none, so it works more like a button. And then in the MIDI controller settings, we need to make sure that the user mode button actually activates this clip. And in our instrument track, you'll see here that I have the input coming from the normal push to input, not the push to port 2. So that way, whenever we're in our regular push mode, not user mode, you can play with the same instrument that is being used by the chord player. One last thing is when we're in user mode, we probably would need to program these knobs to work with the chord player knobs, if you choose. And when you do that, you just need to make sure that in this little menu, it's set to relative twos comp, or relative linear twos comp, one or the other. And because that way it will have erratic behavior, to put it the least, to say the least, if you don't do that. So the easiest way to do this is to make sure that you're turning left on the knob, and it will make sure that you have relative twos comp set. I also have these ones actually just set to the button press, the just tapping of my knob. So that way it turns on and off like a switch when I tap on the knob, which I think is quite helpful. So yeah. One last thing I'd like to mention. So let's say you're in user mode, but all the lights are green. Why is that? Well, that's because you have the user mode and the colorizer lights out of order, out of sync. The colorizer needs to be only playing when you're in user mode. So if that's happening, just stop the clip, and then the lights will go back to normal. And then when you hit user mode, the colorizer will turn on, hit user mode again, it will turn off because we have the launch set to toggle. So yeah, I hope this helps some people who are trying to use the chord player a little more easily. What I recommend doing is after you set this up, is you save it to your template, your default template in Ableton, and that way you never have to set it up again. And you can call up your chord player whenever you need. All right. You can find out more about the chord player at benjaminsoma.com. Thanks.